Alright guys, welcome back. Now, I've bit my tongue about talking about tariffs too much on this channel. A lot of it because they're all over the place. It's ever changing. You can make a video right now at 11:30 on, 11:30 at night, and by the next morning, some things have changed, and all of a sudden, everything is wrong, which is really fun, I'm sure, for these business owners that just have no idea what's going on. And they could import things, and then suddenly the price could drop, and the new things that they can import could be cheaper. I'm sure that's really, really enjoyable for businesses. I understand the art of the deal. The tariffs are both for negotiating, but also bringing American jobs back. This is what I've heard. I've heard the two sides of this is either the tariffs are put on China so that manufacturing comes back to the U.S., or the tariffs are put on China as a negotiation tactic so that they drop their tariffs and we have better trade deals with them. There's two things that people say. I don't know which one. It's whatever they feel at the moment. Nobody really has a clear answer. We don't really hear a whole clear answer. Not to get too political. This is more of an economy thing. I am a free trade guy. That's my bias. Prefer free trade. Prefer less government intervention. Wholeheartedly. But let's talk about tariffs in the automotive industry. So, some brands are starting to hit, they're starting to send these emails out that they're raising prices because of tariffs. And there's two types of brands. There's ones that aren't going to be affected, which I don't think that's actually true. I think they're going to be affected on raw materials, but there's two types of brands. The ones that are quick acting and raise their prices, or the ones that are slow acting and get screwed. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. They have the two options. And then that brand could either do another couple things. They could eat them, and, if you're bringing a product in from China and you got like 150% tariff, I don't think it's possible to eat that, but you can eat some of it and cut into your profit and only raise the price 100%, which also probably doesn't make sense. Or you just pass it completely onto the consumer. If you have it's really not on electronics, so like a laptop or a phone isn't going to do this because those have already been exempt, and a lot of car parts. It's mostly on like toys and small gifts and plastics and like an umbrella or like trinkets or like things like that, because I don't know if you guys have seen, but a lot of the tech stuff is already exempt. Your phone, your laptop, your computer chips. It's like shoes and hats and like kind of junk, I guess you could say. I mean, Trump just did an interview the other day. He was like, if you have a kid that wants dolls, maybe you can't afford 7 dolls anymore. You can only afford 2, or they just need less. That's what he said. This is right out of his mouth. He said this the other day. You buy less of things that you want. Just point it out. I get it. We consume too much. So companies kind of have to figure out how they're going to pass this on to the consumer, if they are going to pass it right on to the consumer, or if they're going to try to wait them out. But again, they don't know if they're going to have to wait them out. They could go up. They could try to wait them out, and it could be 300%, or it could be back to 0, and then you really got screwed. A lot of companies are worried about doing that. If they import now, they're going to be screwed when they could have imported for cheaper later. So they're kind of in a waiting period, some of them. And now there's a couple ways to look at the car companies. So there are car companies that are American car companies or car brands. I'm not talking like OEM like Ford, Chevy. I'm talking like aftermarket performance companies that import a few components from China or India or Pakistan or Italy, and they put them together, and then they sell a product that has been built in the US. Or there are companies that just have a product built out of country, bring it in, it's still in a box, and then they ship it out to you. There are two different things, in my opinion. The guys that are buying like a part here or there, or they have some casting, or it just doesn't make sense to make things in-house, which that can be argued, of course, but the guys that just like get a couple parts and put it together, those are different than the guys that are buying a whole thing. So say your component takes 50 parts and 10 of them are made overseas and are are going to be hit with the tariffs. You're not going to have to raise the whole product 150%. But the people that just, it shows up on their doorstep and then they drop ship it to you, or just gets drop shipped right to you from China, and they're just kind of like this mysterious middleman, those products are going to go up all the way. Now, the latter part of it, where it's still built in the US with foreign and domestic parts, sourced from foreign and domestic parts, it's a very different business model and business altogether. And those are American companies. So let's use Precision Turbo as an example. Just for full disclosure, Precision Turbo is one of the sponsors on my car. I have a close relationship with them. I run their parts. I've ran their parts for years. I wholeheartedly support this brand. They make some of the best turbochargers, in my opinion, from what I've seen by making power, performance, and the people that run them. Great quality turbocharger. I have used them for years, and so does everyone I know. Not everyone. So do a lot of people that I know. They have a very large assembly plant in Indiana that puts together these turbos. They test them, they vet them, they do the quality control, and they are heavily invested in the US with all of that stuff. It is an American company with a ton of American people. They have a huge team, and they are at events everywhere. But it was just announced the other day that they are raising prices across the board 30%. Now they sell blow-off valves, wastegates, turbos, drains, and like all this like little things like that go along with turbos, the V-bands and stuff. Back housings, front housings. There's a bunch of cast components, and there's a bunch of billet components, the wheels. They are raising it 30%. Now, some people said it's not the full 150%, so there's some contention there. I'll talk about it in a minute. But it is unfortunate because they did not cause this. They did not bring this upon anyone. This is a policy change that sprung on them rather quickly and kind of just screwed them over a little bit. We can use my turbo as an example for what 30% price increase does to a turbo. So my turbo is an 8685 Precision Next Gen bad unit. It cost $4,300. Add 30% to that, that is an extra $1,290 on top of this. And that money does not go to Precision Turbo. It is not a price increase that Precision Turbo did. It does not go to China. It does not go to some other company or a shipping company. It goes directly to Ukraine. I mean, it goes directly to the US government. It goes right into their pocket to pay off debt that your grandparents probably got, or someone's Social Security or something like that. It goes directly to that. It is not the company gouging you in any way, shape, or form, which is unfortunate because they get the bad rap of they're gouging people when they are just trying to keep their business afloat when they're hit with a new tax. And yes, I call it a tax because by definition, a tariff is a tax. Tariff definition, because some people like to argue this. A tariff is a tax imposed by a government on imported or, in some cases, exported goods. Wow. So when you call it a tax, you're legitimately just reading the definition. Phew. And yes, I like to say it's a tax on the consumer because it gets passed on to the consumer. There's really no way around that. These companies are not going to eat this 150% increase. Like I said, they could either wait it out or they could raise the price to try to keep selling, because not a lot of companies are prepared to just sit on their hands for an unknown amount of time. So they kind of have to just send it and hope that people buy the products. Unfortunately, this can end up hurting the consumer in another way, where say you go out right now and you buy one of these turbos and you should buy one of these turbos. You should still support Precision. They are a great brand. You buy one of these turbos, and then the tariff disappears, and then this turbo now costs less than what you just bought it for. Now you can't go ahead and resell this turbo for as much because there was a huge disparity between a new one and a used one. So now you kind of get hurt on the secondhand market where a lot of car parts end up, understandably, but it ends up backfiring on the consumer. And again, not Precision Turbo's fault. It's just how it is. And then another misconception that I saw. Why didn't the price go up 150%? Well, like I said, maybe not all the parts are made in China or wherever they're made. Maybe some of the parts are made there, and they didn't have to raise the price on the entire product because only some of them are subject to that tariff. So they just raised the price on a few parts. Maybe 10, 20, 30% of the parts are made there. Maybe it's 5%. Maybe it's just the most expensive part. I don't know. I have no concept of... I have guesses, I have research, but I have no definitive proof on what's made where. For people that have never understood how a business works, the product is not the entire cost. The product is just some of the cost of the business. These businesses have a ton of other costs between marketing, sales staff, payroll, everything like that. Whether they're servicing debt, the rent, the business, and the countless other expenses that they have all get rolled into the product. So even if the one imported tariffed good goes up, that doesn't mean that payroll suddenly gets more expensive. That doesn't mean that marketing budget suddenly gets more expensive. That doesn't mean that your rent suddenly goes up. That just means that one aspect of your final product cost goes up. So it's not going to have to go up 150% in the end of the day. It's only going to have to go up 150%, say, on the actual product, and the rest of it can stay the same. And now, this always gets me in hot water. Everybody says, oh, you're just an Trump or anti-American, or I voted for Trump multiple times. I just am more pro-free market than I am pro-government control. I am anti-taxes, whether it's implemented by a blue shirt or a red shirt. I don't care. I genuinely do not care. I only care about what I believe and not care about who says what. So you can come at me all you want. And when I buy car parts, I care about a few things. Quality and price. Like, what quality are you getting for the price? And the performance of the part. And then somewhere down below, I care about the location it was made. It's not my high priority, as it really doesn't make sense for that to be a high priority. When you put location it's made above quality or performance, you are sacrificing a lot, in my opinion. Performance should come first, or quality. If you're really baller, you only put quality up there, whether it's made in Germany, Japan, China. If that's the high quality part, that's the one you should buy. So, and I'll end it off here. So a lot of people talk about, these companies are subsidized by the CCP to destroy American manufacturing. Maybe. Milton Friedman, one of my favorite economists ever, he said, if a foreign government wants to subsidize our consumers by selling us goods at below market prices, we should thank them. And I find that hilarious, because if China is subsidizing its own labor to create parts and ship them to the US for a discount, I don't see how anybody would be mad about that. I understand the national security things. Everybody's like, but when we go to war, because everybody's always excited about going to war for some reason, because, I don't know, maybe the military-industrial complex has such a stranglehold on the propaganda that people are like, when we go to war with China, they say when we do it, like it's inevitable, like there's no off-ramp. But quite a different tangent. They want us to have a strong industrial base where we can suddenly swoop in and repurpose a company that makes race car parts and say, you now make Abrams tanks. You now make drones. You now make missiles. That's what everybody kind of thinks. They're like, we need to be able to step in and steal their manufacturing so that they can make walkie-talkies for when we have to go defeat China. That's crazy. Maybe we should just have an off-ramp and not have to fight a war. Just my thought. I know war is inevitable because war is too profitable not to be, but just a thought. Maybe we shouldn't be too fired up. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it saucy. Oh, and subscribe.